third C is C for care. I think this is important in general because care makes our profession a much nicer place to be. You may want to have a look at a few blog posts related to this, which are linked at the bottom right hand corner of this slide. I do feel very strongly about this. In fact, I've decided to make 2022 the year of positive academia, and I've started to share LinkedIn recommendations for dozens of my colleagues, mentees, co-authors and other people I admire. More generally though, I mean this care in two distinct ways. Care for your own reputation and care for others. First of all, care about your own reputation in academia. Just like in many other professions, your reputation is your most valuable asset. And nobody wants to use or cite the work of an academic they don't respect. Academia is a very small world. You might not realize this, but academics talk to each other. They even gossip, especially at conferences. They know the people who are what we call salami slicers, who write up 8 papers on one small piece of research, or who are trying to manipulate the data to squeeze another paper out of it. They know the people that are not good colleagues because they just want to get their name on papers with others doing the work. They also know people that are not what I would call ethical academics, and personally I would go out of my way to avoid citing these people. There are always a dozen papers, or at least half a dozen papers that you can cite to illustrate a particular point, so I'd rather cite someone who I know is a good and ethical researcher. So do care for your own reputation and make sure that you don't ever engage in unethical behavior. But also care for others. Care for others and help whenever you can. So how does this work in practice? Well, first of all, I would suggest keep the promises you make at conferences. I see this happening a lot at conferences where people talk to each other and they get talking about their research and they get all excited and say, yeah, I've got some great resources on that and I have some papers on that and I'll send you that list. And then after the conference, they come back and they don't do any of this. They get drowned into their teaching and admin and they simply forget, or they think these people that they met will probably forget about all these promises too. But I don't think that's a very good way to network or to make sure you create strong personal bonds. So what I do at conferences, if I speak to people and I promise them to do something, I simply ask for their business card and I write down what I promised to do. And I take the business cards back home, and then after the conference, maybe not the day after I return home, but maybe the weekend after I've returned home, I go through these business cards and I simply spend a few hours doing what I promised. Now, another thing that I'm doing is to alert collaborators or colleagues or academic friends to useful information. If I read something that I think might be of interest to one of my mentees or my co-authors, I just send them a link to the paper. It only takes a minute, but it might be a big help for someone else. And also congratulate them on their achievements, if they've published something, if they've achieved something significant, especially if they're junior academics. It will mean the world to them. Then finally, and I can't stress this enough, thank others for their help. One of my first blog posts on my blog, linked below, was about that. If someone has spent time to help you, please thank them. Over the years, I've helped hundreds and hundreds of academics with feedback on their papers, research ideas, responses to questions about academia, or even just technical support for publish or perish. And quite a lot of them can't even seem bothered to acknowledge my email or say a few words of thanks. And sometimes I do get a bit stroppy and send the email again after 1 or 2 weeks, and then I sometimes get a yes, I was busy response, which then leaves me thinking, I took time out of my busy day to help you, and you are too busy to take 2 minutes to thank me? So please don't be that person. Not with me and not with anyone else. If we do want academia to be a nicer place, we all need to play that role. Now finally, care is also crucial for external impact, not just for academic impact, citation impact. I would argue that a genuine care for societal problems is often at the foundation of external research impact.